Bark Mission, founded by Angelica Beatrice Lim. It's a non-for-profit organization. She fosters, adopts out, she rescues cats and dogs. She grew up in Baguio and now lives in Quezon City. Bea answers many of your questions, many of your anxious questions towards me. What can I do? I'm just one person. In comes Bea. She's one person, one man band. She rescues, she takes care of the animals. She finds a way to adopt them out, and she's quite successful. She's very inspirational, and it's hard to say that the connection was built up by something else. No, the connection it's a different kind of connection. It's a rescuer to rescuer. And again and again, she helps me answer questions of my own asking. So young, so dedicated, and at the same time, we share this energy. It's an unending energy. Her father is a sweetheart who also helps her out. He also goes to the pound to rescue animals, by the way. And so I invite you to watch this podcast with Angela so that you perhaps will get your own answers as to how one person can do it all. We limit ourselves. And Bea, although she knows and she does have her boundaries, as she would say, is quite unlimitless. Hi, Bea, how are you?
Hi, Ma'am Rina. I'm good.
You can just call me Rina.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is our third episode with Bea Lim of Bark Mission. And Bea,
Yes.
tell us about Bark Mission.
Okay, so Bark Mission started during the pandemic in 2020. Before that, almost 10 years ago, I actually would rescue on my own, here and there. I'd see a kitten on the street and I'd pick him up, bring him home, and then find an adopter for the kitten. But during the pandemic, everybody was at home and stuff. And my sister got the idea to start Bark Mission. So originally it was her idea. She says we can help the animals in our neighborhood, in our community. Since that time, there were so many stray dogs in our area. All of them were looking for food because nobody was going outside of their houses. So they were all just scattered there. And then she was we can help by starting Bark Mission, so we can catch them, have them neutered, adopt them out, or release them back. And that's how it started. So it was just the two of us, me and my sister. So Bark actually stands for Bridget and Bea Animal Rescue and Capon Mission.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So fairly recent. And how do you feel?
Of course, it can be overwhelming. Maybe in the beginning, we were super all for it. Somebody would message us and we would actually go there and rescue and stuff like that. But now that it's just me, I've mainly focused on the animals in my community and those that I could help in my immediate area. So yeah, and so far I would say I'm doing okay, since I only have a limited number of fosters that I can keep with me and then have them adopted out before rescuing again.
Yeah. So I think that's an important message, or it's a point that needs to be made. You knew your limit.
Yes.
You defined your limit. So it's your location and the number.
Yes, exactly.
That's very important because I know other rescuers, myself included, where sometimes you set a mental record and you don't keep to it. You don't stick to it because you're driven by emotion. Sometimes because of the need, right? And then you scramble. That's a really important thing so you don't get burnt out.
Yes.
There are 2 or 3 rescuers that I know that are completely burnt out. So right now they can't do anything. So it becomes a problem because they've taken in so much and they don't know what to do with it. And then they just kind of like stay stuck.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yes, I understand.
The opposite can also happen where they get pushed to do so much more, right? But I think it's important to know your limits.
Yes.
Especially if you're new. You're not new, but if you're getting into it, set some sort of boundary.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because this is a real marathon. It's not a race.
Yes.
And it's what I always say. We're a little bit like Moses. You and I don't think are going to reach to the promised land of stray-free, rabies-free Philippines. We're planting the seeds.
Yes.
We're hoping to arrest the growth, but that will live long enough. I'm not sure. I'd like to think it's a bit suntok sa buwan, but just to stay realistic, right? So in other words, we're planting seeds. We're planting seedlings from which we will never be able to enjoy the shade. But that's okay, right?
Yeah, that's okay. For now, we can do as much as we can.
We can,
yes.
yeah. I think that's an important point. Now, have you worked with other people? You've worked with us. Have you worked with other groups?
I have fostered for other groups like Cats of BGC, Cats of Ortigas. When I have the space and when they need somebody, when they put out the call for help, I will offer if I can. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's another important piece of the puzzle, is that there is such a thing called fostering, which a lot of people are not aware of.
Yes.
So can you tell us?
So fostering means you're providing temporary shelter, a temporary home for an animal that needs it at that moment. So for me, most of my fosters, they come from the community, those I pick up, and I keep them at home and I feed them and stuff, and until I can find an adopter suitable for them, so I have them adopted out. And then with the other groups, like sometimes Adopt.ph, if she needs somebody to foster, I offer to foster if I have the space. So yeah, that's something I think helps a lot, since shelters and rescuers, they're overwhelmed, and you can always offer to foster if you're not ready to make the commitment of having a pet, of adopting.
And if I'm right, because we also work with Cats of BGC, they also sometimes find the adopter. Often they do the screening. So some of the work is you work at it as partners.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And you have very interesting posts. She has an IG,
yes,
Bark Mission, and she has a Facebook.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes you bring out your what you experience in the day.
Yes.
And sometimes it can be quite frustrating.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
So for my socials, I try to keep it positive as much as possible, since nobody wants to see like suffering animals. It discourages them. So I try to keep my posts lighthearted, and I give them updates on my fosters, to build that connection with the audience and hopefully find them a forever home. But sometimes, the frustrations of animal welfare, it comes out. And most of the time, I would say what's difficult is not the taking care of the animals themselves, but having to speak with people, or like people who don't understand what we do. So for example, in my neighborhood, there's a lot of let's say residents who keep their dogs free roaming. And what I've done is I've gone to each of the neighbors that I know owns the dog, and I've offered to spay and neuter them. So yeah, most of those animals are already spayed and neutered. And but sometimes, what's frustrating is after you spay their animal, they'll get a new one again. And it's like it just starts again. And I offered to spay, and I speak with them, and I said like, can you stop getting more dogs now, since the others, they don't even like have proper food to eat or proper shelter. They're just on the road. And it hits more when it's like close to your home, and it's like you feel like you can't do anything else about it. So yeah, but for now, I think we're in a good space. Like I keep tabs on all the dogs in our neighborhood, and the cats that I have DNVR'd. And yeah.
Your dad seems to be involved in this.
Yes, my dad is very much an animal lover, and I think he's passed that down to us, well, to me. And yeah, he's very I would say headstrong about it.
Like how?
Well, he's supportive. Like he'll he's always driving me to the clinic to like get the animals neutered and spayed when I need to take them. And then recently, so just last month, we had the city pound come and take the dogs. They were mostly my neighbor's dogs that were roaming on the street. And the next day he'd gone to the pound and to bail them out. And yeah, so right now they're back with the neighbors, but we've spoken with them and asked them to keep the dogs inside their house so it doesn't happen again. Yeah. So my dad is very like go for it. Like he takes action. I guess you would say like that.
That's really great. Which is not so common for his age group.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's not so common because it's one thing to have a pet. It's another thing to care for your neighbor's pet.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. They grew up differently, right? Some are, but it's very nice to hear that he has that energy, and I think the animal welfare portion has brought the two of you closer.
Yeah, I guess so. I would say so.
Because there's a connection, and maybe you don't even talk about it, but it's there.
Yeah.
That support.
Yes.
And I'm sure you support him in other ways. I think he looks at you probably and he smiles inside because he's like, here's Bayan. She's like,
I hope so.
I think so. Maybe they're not so expressive. Again, that generation is not as expressive as the younger generations.
Yes.
But maybe it's that he drives you.
Yeah.
I've seen him here in the clinic waiting for you.
Yes.
And that he actually went to the pound to bail out the dogs. I mean, that when you told me that, it like blew my mind. It blew my mind because you know what it's like to be tired, right?
Yes.
You know what it's like to want to do something but you feel helpless. Helpless and almost low bat.
Yes.
in other words. And then just to have somebody else say, okay, no, I'm going to go do it. And you're like, what? For me, you know, I was like, yeah, go for it, right? You know, he didn't send somebody. He went himself.
Yes, he did.
And that's a courageous thing.
Yeah,
I
I'd
feel.
say. It's actually the second time it's happened.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So the first time was like 2021 probably, and the dogs they'd caught were the village dogs, so they were abandoned by a resident who'd left, and we'd been feeding them for a while, taking care of them, having them spayed and neutered, and you know, the city pound came and caught them, which I don't blame them for because I know that's their job. And so that time my dad had gone with my sister to bail out the dogs, and we'd taken those dogs to our farm in the province, so now they live there.
What province are you from?
Isabela. Well, my parents are from Isabela.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
We have a lot of northerners here.
Yes.
Yeah,
From the
C-
school.
CLSU.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's a nice story because we feed off.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like the strays.
Yeah.
Me, at least.
Mm.
My sustenance comes from people like yourself and your father, because in a way, even if we don't talk every day, even if we you know, seeing what you do and how you do it gives me some energy, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, in that way. And it's like, okay, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
So the connection is there even if there's no communication. The communication is just that you know that there's somebody else out there doing these things, and there's many of them.
Mm-mm.
Right?
Yes.
It's just like what you say. I pick and choose who to look at sometimes because it's very hard
Yes.
to see it, especially because we're on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
so we actually smell. It becomes how can I say this? It's very palpable because when you see the image, you know if it's a sick cat or sick dog, or you know the smell of it, you know the sight of it,
Yes.
you know the desperation of it. So the senses of perception are quickly switched on, and the anxiety
Yes.
kind of, you know, it's boop. It's like it's like a button you press. So I try not to look too much because it's hard.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very, very hard. And then so when you look at lighthearted, what you did for Bess and all the photographs
Yes.
and the kittens and the backgrounds and the pink, it's just so cute with the flowers and they're licking, they're licking, and you know, it's really inspiring because you capture a moment of their personality.
Yes.
And that personality is something that they're sharing with you, and you're with them, and so you share it with the rest of us, and then it just opens up the floodgates of possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know your neighbors are a challenge sometimes to you. What else is a challenge to you?
What else? Definitely I would say finding responsible adopters. You know, sometimes my fosters, the longest they've been with me have been like 8 months, or I think 8 months. And sometimes you feel like, oh, they're gonna be here forever, like they're not gonna find adopters, but there's always that hope. I would like to tell the story of one of the cats I rescued. Yeah, her name was Marmalade, and she was like super malnourished, like couldn't even walk anymore, and she had a bad eye and stuff. So we took care of her until she relearned how to walk. We got her eye fixed, and we had her for like almost 10 months already.
She became a pirate?
Yes, she became a pirate. She's an orange cat. And I was beginning to lose hope, like, oh, maybe she's meant to stay with us forever. But just some random day, somebody messaged me and they were like interested in adopting a cat, and they didn't mind if it was a kitten or if it had special needs or stuff like that. And yeah, everything worked out in the end. So Marmalade got adopted, and now she lives in like the province, and she has like free roam of her house. All her neighbors know her, and yeah, it was just something that motivated me. Like, I had given up all hope that she would find a home, and then suddenly there's this person that came and wanted her. So it just motivated me to keep going.
Yeah, I think they do motivate, right?
Yes.
They make you sad. Your heart breaks sometimes, especially for the ones who are too sick to make it.
Yeah.
And the more you have, the chances of that are higher.
Mhm.
Like with us, we have so many.
Yes.
So every day there's something,
Yes.
you know. But they do motivate, they do inspire. And what is the most, as you already kind of mentioned that, you lost all hope, and it taught you, Marmalade taught you how to not to,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What other valuable lessons?
Well, I guess oh, sorry.
No.
Like through this welfare that we're doing, through animal welfare, I've met some really good individuals as well. So knowing that you're not alone, knowing that there's people doing the same thing that believe in what we do, and that really motivates me. So because of this, like because of the Bark Mission, I've sort of built like a community of animal welfare advocates and animal lovers. And yeah, sometimes when you feel down, you can always reach out to them, like for help, like for suggestions, for tips. And I would also want to say thank you to the vets of Biaya, because sometimes I get a rescue, and I had this one rescue who had this giant gaping wound on her neck, and I was like panicking. I didn't know what to do, and I messaged Doc Manny on Viber and I asked him like how I could help this dog and stuff, and he suggested putting honey and all that to help the wound heal. And yeah, in like 2 weeks time the wound was gone. So thank you so much always for even just like a late night emergency. Like I sent one of my community cats here after he'd gotten like a super bad infection in his mouth. Unfortunately he didn't make it, but Doc Manny was like answered right away, and I sent him here, and he was able to pass comfortably, I would say.
Yeah. No, this is something we kind of like, we try to strive for. We have this thing called kulturang biyaya, so how to be a blessing.
Yeah.
But actually, it goes both ways, right? People like you are blessings to us because we are able to fulfill something within us. Do you know there's a Greek, there's a Sisyphus. Sisyphus is his name. And he was the man always pushing the rock up the mountain. And then the gods hated him so much. And then the rock would fall back down the hill. And that's what he just did. He was cursed to do that. But in the end, when you kind of look at the story, in a way, Sisyphus was mocking the gods. He was just so happy he had something to do that made him internally happy.
Mm-hmm.
So put the rock to shoulder and push it up, and then rolls back down.
That's how it feels like sometimes.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
it does. It really does, and sometimes that is from mostly humans make you
Yes, I
feel
would
that
say.
way. Mostly humans make you feel that way. The animals rarely let you down. In fact, when I get bitten or something bad really happens, that's who they are,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
they're innocent like that. They're just they're showing you who they are, or
Yes.
they're afraid or something. So yeah, so there's that quality of duty that kind of fulfills you, and the thing is that the duty can be anything you decide it to be, for as long as it uh, keeps the fire inside you alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So how do you see yourself moving forward?
Well, I've always been like in the moment type of person, so
That's good.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yeah.
It's easier to be that way.
For now, yeah, for now the goal is to have my fosters adopted out, and we'll see what happens after that. You know, there's always animals in need of help. There's never a shortage of that. So I know like I'd be doing this for some time.
Yeah. Are you ever thinking of having a larger setup, or not yet?
Probably not yet. Like,
But
just
is it even-
realistically, I would like to make like do partnerships maybe. Yeah. With like with other groups, with vets. Hopefully I could we set up like a mascapon sort of stuff to help the animals in our community, and the indigent pet owners have their pets spayed and neutered, because I think there's like a real need for that, for like each barangay to have a kapon event like a mascapon thing, and people are willing to bring their pets to have them spayed and neutered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think again that's an important point. You start where you are
Mm-hmm.
with your community.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned some of your neighbors. Do they understand you? You're not sure.
I'm not sure. I mean,
The-
they just let me do whatever. Probably like
But they don't stand in your way.
no.
So
Most
that's
of them. Yeah.
so that's a good thing.
That's enough. Yeah. I just go I take the initiative to do everything. So I go up to them and say like, I'm going to the clinic to have a few animals kapon, spay and neuter, and I explain to them what it is so that they would have stop having more puppies being born, and then they just agree and be like okay, and then I just do everything. I get the dogs in the cage, I load them in the car, drive them to the clinic, and then I bring them home. Yeah. That's
And what does the end of the day of that day feel like?
definitely tired, but I would say fulfilling, since I know that there won't be more puppies being born on the street again.
I think there's two kinds of tired. There's physical tired, and there's tired that you need peace. Right?
Yes.
So definitely that it's given you some sort of peace.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's more tiring the peace bit. I would
From
I would any day prefer to be physically tired,
Mm-hmm.
because all you need to do is get a good night's rest,
Mm-hmm.
eat well, relax, and you're okay. Whereas the peace bit, it's a little bit
Draining.
it's draining. Yeah, it's draining. But then again, again, I guess in the end, what this has taught me is like, it's the attitude you bring into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, Green. So, if your attitude is like, okay, I'm gonna learn from this,
Mm-hmm.
or it makes me happy, right? So, and because you crave for the peace, so you want the peace, you find ways to figure that out,
Mm-hmm.
and you can fight it, or you can figure out a more creative way. Like, have you had to deal with some creativity with your neighbors and with your barangay, where you thought, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this, or you get so frustrated but you hold yourself back? That can be tiring. You hold yourself back and something clicks in your mind and you say, okay, I'll try this.
Well, yeah. Well, what's hard, I would say, is that mostly in my neighborhood, I'm on my own. Like, sure, they'll let me spay and neuter their animals, but in the end, they don't listen to me when I ask them to keep them inside the gate. So I don't know. It feels like a back and forth sometimes. Like, you make some progress, but then like the city pound comes and takes them, and it just breaks your heart.
But who
And
reports to the city pound?
I would
Because
say
they won't come unless they've been called.
yes, I would say the other residents are the ones complaining, or maybe the barangay themselves, probably, because I don't know. I guess most of them are not animal lovers, or they don't like cats pooping in their lawn or
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. The cat problem is quite big because there's a lot of cats.
Yeah.
And generally they're considered like treated as rodents.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, like, you know,
Yeah. They think people see them as pests.
pests, and so that's where we find the kittens in plastic bags and
Yeah.
stuff. You won't often find a puppy in a plastic bag, but kitten you would find
Mm-hmm.
more often than not.
Yes.
So I feel like the animals that get the raw end of this is both, no, but the kittens are particularly,
It's too common.
it's too common.
Yeah.
And maybe because maybe they're more,
Yeah.
and maybe because I don't know. It's a really tough call. So there's two of you now, your father and you.
Mm-hmm.
And does your father say anything?
No, he's mostly supportive. Like, whatever I want to do, he's game to do it. Yeah, and I guess I'm lucky that I'm able to do what I do. Like, I have the support at home, and I have the resources, the space. I hope to keep doing it to help more animals, but I don't know. We never know what the future holds.
True. So what would your wish list be?
My wish list? Well, definitely first is to have more responsible adopters. I know that can be out of my control, but that's the one thing that I think we all rescuers want and need: more responsible adopters. And of course, second is for the people to be more educated about animal welfare and how to be responsible pet owners, so that we can curb, not completely stop maybe, but we can curb all the kittens thrown in plastic bags, all the abandoned dogs, and mostly those two things, probably. Like material things, food, shelter for the animals, I can manage. Like, I can.
So it's more intangible things.
Yes.
Yeah. But education's it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough one because many of the older people, they're already kind of set in their mindset. It's like I was talking to somebody from up north, and it's really their culture to eat dogs. And he said until he met me,
Mm-hmm.
it never even crossed his
Yeah.
mind that it's not right.
Yeah.
So it's very hard when it's a cultural thing. And I argued with him because I said, I don't know where you got this eating of dogs, because historically I looked. It's pigs that you kill. So did the dog replace the pig when you couldn't have a pig? Because there were no dogs before up north. It was only when the settlers came in that dogs arrived into the scene. So when you say culturally, how far back,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, show me documentation from your forefathers that you ate dog. I think it's a fairly recent thing, you know?
Yeah.
So there's all these things, but whatever the case is, it's in their culture,
Yes.
right?
It's like ingrained in their DNA.
It's ingrained in their DNA, and they don't know any better,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's hard to come in and say that's wrong,
Yeah.
because that's their education,
Mm-mm.
that's their upbringing,
Yes.
and it's hard to negate that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to really be very creative
Yeah.
in our approach, so we
Yes.
can get in.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we crack that
mentality.
and how do we crack that kind of like whatever, so we can get in?
Yeah.
And this is part of it is also apathy. They don't care. It's just the dog.
Yes.
It's just the cat,
Yes.
right? So because actually they're so busy with the day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
hand-to-mouth existence, so it's very hard for them to think beyond
Yeah.
that. We have a program called Bark, so BIS, Acts of Random Kindness,
Mm-hmm.
and we help a lot of the street dwellers with
Yeah.
their animals. And I haven't posted it yet. I'm still trying to figure out and have the energy to post it. But we have some older mangangalakals, the ones with the caretons,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And they sometimes have the dogs help them push, especially if they're older. Pull
Mm-hmm.
the careton so they don't need to push so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And the dogs are also used as some sort of protection because they're on the street. They live in the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's so hard to convince them, and so we get into this. Okay, let me take your animals. We leave some. Let's vaccinate them. Let's capon them because they can get sick also, etc., etc. And then we'll return them to you because
Mhm.
anyway they normally have 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So it's not so simple.
Yes.
It's really not so simple. So it's like, as a rescuer, I don't want to release the dog back to them, right? Because okay, it had Ehrlichia, we finally cured it, this and that, and then but there's a promise to return,
Mm-hmm.
and so okay, we return completely fixed. And when you see the dog, they're so happy to be with their human
Yes.
because they don't know any better.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like, you get what I mean?
Yes, I do.
It's like, check, your heart is really,
Mhm.
but and then you just say, well, that's their fate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has that happened to you?
Yes, it does. It has happened. Like, well, there was an instance that one of them, okay, going back to like 2021, the first time that the pound came to round up the dogs, one of the dogs caught was this dog we call Rosher, and he belonged to the neighbor, but he was free roaming, and when we bailed him out, we didn't return him to his owner anymore, but he was he would constantly go there. Even like he would get out of our house, he would go back to his owner, and that's all he knew. Like, even if he was so maltreated, he was living on not properly cared for. That's the life that he knew. So every time he would get out of our house, he would go back to the owner, and it's just like let me help you, dog. Like, don't go back there, and you have everything you need here. So the dogs, they're just so innocent. Like, it's never them that's the problem.
No, it's never them.
Yeah.
It's and I'm sharing all these things because there are times we don't return, especially when the dog is in danger.
Mm-mm.
Right? And what we do is we just try to help the human.
Yeah.
So that's just how it goes. So So your idea, no, not your idea. So what you're deciding is, I'll adopt out these my fosters at the moment,
Yes.
and then I'll take in a new batch.
Yeah, that's how it's been since it started. So
Okay, okay. And do you wanna say anything or share something with the audience?
I guess I would just say that we can all do something. You know, we don't have to rely on the shelters. We don't have to rely on the rescuers, because I was that person before. Like, I would seek help from somebody else because I felt like I wasn't capable of helping the animal. But when you look at it, you are that animal's best chance. You're the person currently there at that location, and you can do something about it. I mean, what's to say, like, you wait for somebody else to respond, and then the dog passes away while you're waiting, you know? So it's always like, you don't have the excuse to say that, oh, my hands are tied, I can't do anything. You can always do something.
Yeah, I actually, it's always also my message.
Yeah.
You can donate food.
Mm-hmm.
You can donate your time,
Mm-hmm.
your effort. You know, I'm hoping with this podcast that maybe a neighbor or two will see it and will help you out, right?
I hope so. Yes.
Or somebody nearby, Quezon City, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and you get together, because really, for me, yes, you can do a lot on your own, but you can do so much more with, like-minded
Yes.
people, like-minded, but can also give you other ideas that you hadn't thought about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's creativity always present, because we just have so many different experiences, and we bring ourselves into whatever organization we decide to be part of, whether it's an organization, a group, or whatever you want to call it, right? So it's a really nice story, because in other words, you developed as a human being because of the animals.
Yeah.
You thought you couldn't,
Yes.
and you could.
Yes.
So that tells you a lot about future crossroads for you.
Yes. I think that's how most animal welfare advocates start. You know, they always think that they can't do anything, and then eventually they'll be like, I'm in a position to help this animal now, so let me do it. Let me be the one to help them. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it's been heartwarming. And full disclosure, Angela is taking care of 3 of our pups.
Yes.
So that's Bess, Martina, and Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
And we always push it, or I don't know what you called it, repost it on Instagram when. So if you're looking for a puppy or
Yeah.
kitten, she has the cutest tabbies, all kind of shades of tabbies,
Yes.
patch tabbies. Help her out. Yeah, and see, I never knew Bea. We would have never met if it's not for the animals,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's what I often say, that Biaya was born because of the strays.
Mm-hmm.
Without them, there would be no Biaya. And we're 100 staff. Think about that. 100 connections, 100 families, 100, and continuously connecting out to other people
Mm-hmm.
and other ways to kind of help. Because really, the exponential growth, if we don't do something about it, will be catastrophic, tragic, is the way I'm looking at it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So any little bit,
Yes.
like what you say, you're in a position to help, even if you just help one,
Mm-hmm.
that's one more than anybody else, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks, Angela, any last, Angelica, her name is Angelica Ep-3, so I always used to call her Angela, but actually her name is Bea, so forgive me. So Bea,
It's okay.
tell me, anything else?
Yeah, I would just like to say, like, please adopt, whether from Biaya or from me or
Anyone.
anyone. Yes, there's so many animals in need of good homes. They're just as amazing as dogs would breed, cats would breed. You know, they love the same, and they're just amazing. Please support animal welfare, and uh even just in your community, start a TNVR, small things like that, they really make a big impact.
Yeah, well, especially TNVR, because you don't need to catch anything. You don't need to get scratched.
Mhm.
Just get a group of people together to fund it.
Yeah.
That, especially in the more affluent areas.
Mhm.
We try to do in other areas that really can't afford. The squatter areas, we do a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big thing. Just one female cat neutered could be the equivalent of about 55 cats down the road. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thanks so much, Bea.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Yeah. Same.
I'd like to thank our sponsors, Cafe 2.0, for the coffee, the tea, and the gluten-free and keto. And I'd like to thank Ayala Malls. Thank you, Ayala, for always helping animal welfare with your adoption fairs and your kapon. We're going to start making kapon in Ayala Malls soon. So watch out, watch our page. Take care. Bye. Hello, mga kabihaya. Barks and Burps, a podcast, is composed of 3 people. Me, Rina Ortiz.
Albert Gamino.
Alcer Pineda.
We are here to discuss anything under veterinary services, rescues, adoptions, animal welfare, responsible pet ownership, anything and everything in between. Kung nais ninyong magiging isang biyaya sa aming mga alagang aso't pusa, please comment below or message our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you. Maraming salamat po.